throughout this news. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. The UN has strongly called for respect for national sovereignty and international law as tensions rise following a U.S. military operations in Venezuela. The UN has warned that actions taken outside these principles risk escalating instability, triggering regional fallout, and setting dangerous precedents in how states conduct relations. It has also been underlined that international law already provides mechanisms to address issues such as drug trafficking, resource disputes, and human rights concerns without resorting to force. Meanwhile, President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores have been produced before a New York court after being detained by U.S. forces, where both pleaded not guilty as divisions deepen inside the Security Council. Let's listen in.
In situations as confused as complex as the one we now face, it is important to stick to principles. Respect for the UN Charter and all other applicable legal frameworks to safeguard peace and security. Respect for the principles of sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity of states. The prohibition of the threat or use of force. The power of the law must prevail. International law contains tools to address issues such as illicit traffic in narcotics, disputes about resources, and human rights concerns. This is the route we need to take.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Adrian Calomel. He's a terrorism scholar, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calomel, for joining us once again. Good to see you. Now, would you like to share your initial reaction when you saw all this happening, the U.S. mission in Venezuela and Maduro being brought to Manhattan?
Well, first of all, great to see you again, Asuma, and good morning to you and to all your viewers. My initial thoughts were that this accelerated quickly. It started with the targeting of some narco shipments. I thought there was going to be some type of maximum pressure campaign. There was a seizing of the tanker, the Skipper, which was the part of Maduro's ghost fleet, which fueled his economy by selling illicit fuel to sanctioned fuel to Cuba, to China, and to sometimes it's the same network as the Islamic Republic. So I could see the pressure, but I did not see this type of operation. What I also did not see, and I don't see, is a full-scale U.S. Military operation and involvement there. This kind of was a decapitation strike. I think the assessments were given that the Maduro regime is very weak. Probably the people around him are very weak. That there is a belief that they can peel away some of the security forces, and that also the people, the majority of the people would back an election that should come forward. I think it gets triggered within 30 days of something like this happening with the vice president taking over. I'm not up on Venezuelan law, but yeah, it all happened very quickly. To be honest, Venezuela has been a problem, and an increasingly a rapidly growing problem, and to the point where it has become somewhat of a clear and present danger to the United States when you look in the involvement of the Islamic Republic, China, and then Russia, and then also Hezbollah has such heavy roots and training camps, launders money through there. And big part of the narco trade. So it's a heavy blow to individuals that we don't align ourselves with in the United States, and it's it needed to be dealt with. It was interesting how it was dealt with.
Yes, it did indeed escalate very quickly, and it continues to do so. And how do you think, how will U.S. be justifying this case now? How does this US's characterization of this operation as a law enforcement action challenges traditional interpretation of national sovereignty and the use of force under international law?
Yeah, that's a great question, Asuma, and I think part of that there's been so much emphasis on the oil aspect of it, and then also the drug charges and just the charges against Maduro. What people aren't looking at are the other charges. Why was he put on the specially designated list in 2017? Because it was because of human rights abuses. Why was he put on the specially designated narcotics trafficking list? It's because he was dealing in that. What has it done to the people of Venezuela? You've had basically 1/3 of the population, about close to 8 million people, leave Venezuela during this time, and it's not to look for better work in most cases. It's out of fear for their lives. They've lost their economy. What I believe the message from the United States should be is we're trying to restore some order to this region. Venezuela has become essentially a launching pad, not just for this ideology that has infected many of the countries in Latin America, but also a launching pad for terrorist organizations, as well as a place where the Islamic Republic has been running around, again, Russian intelligence, Chinese companies, you name it. So it should be, energy security if you're going to be talking about oil. If you're going to talk about oil, the justification should be, we're going to use that oil to build Venezuela into the once prosperous country that it was until it got plundered by first the regime, the Maduro Chavez regime, and then eventually, it's been plundered by outside powers, losing its sovereignty. I think that's how the United States should respond to this. Also, Maduro, you look at the 2024 elections, it was not ratified. He was not recognized by the European Union, number one, the Organization of American States, which is 34 different nations throughout the Western Hemisphere. And then, and also I want to throw in energy independence and energy security. That's a big part of that here as well for the Western Hemisphere. But, talking about the drug charges may be our justification, but I think I study terrorism.
Yes.
And I don't think there has been enough focus about, maybe it's just because it's easy to explain drug charges. It's difficult to explain how Hezbollah has built up its and really embedded itself in that government and elements of it since the Maduro regime, going back to the person who was their oil minister, Tariq al-Simi. So it's it's a really nasty way. It was a terrorist, and it was I would say not maybe a clear and present danger, but a danger, and one that continued to build and had to be dealt with. Now, we'll see how the cards will kind of settle from here.
Yes, building on that, how might this opposition from Russia and China, alongside divisions within UN Security Council, affect the credibility and enforcement capacity of UN Charter in this crisis?
Yeah, the UN, so I'm going to be really frank with you. The UN is a rather toothless organization. It observes and it reports. When it does pass resolutions, it doesn't follow through on the resolutions. When there's supposed to be snapback mechanisms on, let's say, the Iranian nuclear program, they don't follow through on them. They say that there's laws and these different things in place, international laws to contain drug trafficking. And then also, you have the Russia-China split in the Security Council. That's going to be an ongoing split within the Security Council. But China and Russia, it was interesting. I think it was the Islamic Republic, someone from the Islamic Republic. I think it was representatives from all three countries, or two of the three countries, met the other day, about a week ago, to kind of see how they can rewrite the sanctions laws through the UN and see how they can kind of circumvent that by not only reinventing what's legal business, but what can't be sanctioned and how it can be enforced.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Mr.